Welcome to our session about data governance with Azure Purview. I hope you had a great conference so far, and I'm sure you got many great inputs. There were also some sessions about Purview, all right. So you show all the new features, what you can do on the technical side. Today we want to make a step back and have a more non-technical view on data governance. What's the meaning of it? What things I have to consider when I'm dealing with data governance? Also some experience we've made in our projects when we are helping them introducing data governance, and also in which parts tools can be a useful support for data governance. Who we are. My name is Bernhard. I'm working as a data consultant and as a team lead at Cubido, a consulting company in beautiful Upper Austria. We are dealing with data warehouse projects, reporting, and also data governance and data science. So, because it's my first time as a speaker on a stage like this, I'm very happy to have my colleague Wolfgang with me.
Hello, everyone. I'm Wolfgang. I'm working together with Bernhard on very, very interesting data projects. And we are here as Team Data Governance for you today.
Okay. Let's get into it. As Wolfgang said, we have some questions to you. And the first thing we want to know is what comes in your mind when you hear the term data governance?
Could we please see the number for there we go.
We prepared something. So those that arrived a little bit later, we would really like that you use your smartphone now, because we've got some questions prepared, menti.com, and that code is required. 43259682. And if any one of you could just give me the thumbs up if it's working. Perfect. We've got the first things are already displayed, like 10 answers, so keep them going. It's like data governance is a thing that almost everyone thinks a little bit different about it. And there are main points like security, visibility, process, administration, metadata. I say complicated, and it is somehow. If you think about the topic, data governance, data catalog, GDPR rules, ownership, pain. Oh yeah, struggle, knowledge sharing. Data governance is a dream. I have to talk to that person afterwards. Data governance is a dream. We have to think about it. We've got another question prepared. What do you think? Is data governance a technical or a more process thing to solve? So we would like to see your rating. What do you think? 2.3, so we are more like process related. 14, 17, oh. I'm missing that 9-point answer for the technical. It's a purview session. I think we are here for a tool, are we?
Let's see.
Okay, let's see. So 2.5, it's not that kind of thing I expected. I would expect it more like a little bit more technical, but 2.5, we will see. Data governance, it's not tech only. And the third one is like, what is your level of data governance in your company or your personal level? Do you know what data governance is? Are you already into data governance? So please rate your level of data governance experience, please. Gonna wait. We've got 14 answers. Okay. Some experience is there. We've got, I'm completely into data governance. Yeah, thank you for your answers. And now let's start into the question, what is data governance?
Yeah, as we already seen also in your answers, there are many different terms and words in the relation to data governance, and also sometimes different interpretations of a term, and sometimes people doing the same but naming it in different ways. So it's quite a broad and complex theme we have to cover, and yeah, sometimes it seems like a mission impossible to handle with all those different things and yeah, different areas I have to cover. So
when I see that picture, I think about we need a tool to solve that one. I think that's not only the process how to jump and whatever to do. I think we need.
stop. You're not talking about using another Excel file, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We told them, take a step back and we'll have a look on what is data governance.
Yeah.
So whenever we talk with customers about data governance, they had, kind of negative feelings. It's bureaucratic, it's laws, regulatories, not that happy face. So let's have a look on the meaning of the word itself. So governance comes from the French word gouverner. Sorry for my pronunciation if any French people are here. So it means kind of manage, guide, train. So related to our data world, it's the management of my data landscape. So it means the administration, the management of my data sources. It's the steering and controlling of my data assets. And it's also the strategic development of my data landscape and how it should look in the future. So one possible definition of data governance, it's a collection of methods and processes which supports the formal management of the data assets in my organization.
But that formal management of data assets, it's like, oh my God, it's like that struggle and pain and fear I've seen in those first things. So why should we do that? I think that's another term of regulation and another term of process we have to introduce.
Yeah, good question. Let's talk about the why. So data becomes more important. I think you'll agree. So we all here because of that. So we're on a data conference. Data gets more complex and more diverse. So we have different data sources in our systems, different kind of on-prem, kind of cloud sources. We have many data sources we have to dealing with. And I'm sure you all know the quote from Clive Humby, data is the new oil. So it's about 15, 16 years old now. And so the importance of data gets higher and higher. I like the quote, like water, data needs to be accessible, it needs to be clear, and it's needed to survive. So as water is important for us as a human to survive, companies need data to survive. They need enough data, and they need clean data. So it's important for companies to have clean and enough data to survive and to be successful in the future. So why do we need data governance in this case? So, for example, to answer some questions. So what kind of data do we have, and where are they stored, and where can I find them? And who is responsible for this data? Who can I ask? Who is the expert on this data source? Does my data fulfill the quality requirements? Is it good enough to use? Do I know which sensitive data do I have stored when, for example, a customer comes to me and asks me, hey, what data do you have stored about me? Who is allowed, so the rights management, who is allowed to create, to use, to update, to delete the data? And is my data still valid and up to date, or is it outdated, or how long do I have to keep them? So, for example, in Austria, accounting data has to be kept at least 7 years. So data governance supports me in all the things. So it supports me to have an overview about my data landscape, the data map, how can I find my data sources. It increases and ensures the data quality. It helps me to protect my data, to define the rights and which user can access which data source. And it assigns roles and accountability on data. So who is accountable for on a specific data set? So in short term, it's to manage my entire life cycle. So another try for definition, data governance formalizes the definition, the production, and the usage of data to reduce risks and to increase the quality and the usability of my data assets in the enterprise. So, sounds it better for you?
It sounds a little bit better, but it's still like a mission almost impossible, I would call it. But the big question is, how can I start? What are the steps and what are the things to do to get into that data governance thing?
Yeah. So you see, maybe it's always or mostly about the word formalize is in the definition. So it's about formalizing, about documenting things which maybe you've already doing. So I'm sure you have people in your companies who are caring about the data set. The people who comes in your mind when you have an error and quality issue in a report, the measure doesn't look right, and you have to find the people that you will get the answer why this measure is wrong. And it's also about finding blind spots, finding areas you are not covering at the moment. So to make sure you cover all these things you have to do, we recommend to use a data governance framework. So it's a kind of guideline how you deal with data governance. So at the bottom we have our data lifecycle. It's the main goal to manage our data lifecycle. On top of that, we have kind of strategy, a vision, what we want to achieve with data governance. And there are 4 pillars below this strategy. So we have the people, the roles. We have processes. We have policies and rules. We have to deal with it. And last but not least, we have tools. So let's come to the strategy. So we need a vision and a mission what we want to achieve with data governance. What is the goal and how we want to do that, how we want to achieve that. So we have to define goals and also we have to define KPIs, how we can measure these goals. So for example, I want to decrease the time I'm using every month to solving data quality issues. So how much time I'm using for that, and I want to decrease that by 30%. A good way of defining my strategy and how I want to deal with that is to write down a business case. So we have to demonstrate the value of data governance. So first thing you have to do is analyze your current situation. As I said before, I'm sure you have the people in the company who are caring about the data sets. Ask them what they are doing, what they are the pain points they have. Ask them what they are not able to do because of bad or missing data. And don't just ask the IT guys. Data governance isn't an IT thing only. So go to the business people, ask them what they are struggling with related to data and what kind of data they would need to make good decisions. Yeah, identify the pain points, acknowledge them, raise the awareness for data governance and raise the awareness for good data. And then define focus points, define use cases you want to get into it, you want to focus on, maybe you have some quick wins you can achieve, or focus on the biggest pain points you want to solve, and develop a solution for that. So,
when you were talking about that framework and all the people involved, like interviewing everyone in the company and involving everyone, it's like, do we have to go into data governance only in the future? Is it like data governance only and the other stuff of the company like, nice to have? Or who is really in that data governance? Is everyone needed, or is it just a part of the company?
you should talk to nearly everyone, but not everyone has to be involved in the whole data governance organization. So the first pillar was the data governance roles and the people who are acting in this context. So we have many different kinds of people and roles and tasks in our company. So different people, different work they have to do, and especially when you're starting in data governance, you don't have to fulfill all roles from the beginning. So let's focus on a few. Let's have an initial setup, what there is mandatory and necessary to start with data governance. So, of course, you have to have a data governance manager and a data governance team. So he's responsible for this initiative, for this program. He's responsible for the administration of the whole data governance thing, the documentation, and at the beginning will be maybe a one-person show, but it will grow. So he needs a kind of team, a kind of office that supports him. Then you need, of course, data stewards, operational data stewards, the one who cares about the data set, who are responsible for creation or updating or usage of data in their reports. And you need partners, you need support. As I said, it isn't an IT thing, but you need the support of the IT. You need the persons who know the data sources, who are the experts on the data resource. And last but not least, you need at least the okay from the executive level. Please don't start data governance as a secret mission and under the hood. Don't let know them. Prepare and then go to the executive level and get the approval for this whole thing.
Sorry for that. I think funding is important, resource-wise and money-wise.
Yeah. So when we're looking at that kind of a role model, role pyramid, we have on the operational level our data stewards, we have the data governance manager, and we have our partners, our IT experts, our data resource experts, and we have the executive level on the top. So at the beginning, as I said, this is an initial setup. We can start with that, but when your program gets bigger and bigger, you need maybe another roles we have to fill, and we have also the tactical level and the strategic level. So these kind of roles you can fill when you need them. So it's supposed to, when your organization grows, then you need them. So, for example, on the tactical level, we have the data domain steward. So they are the experts on a data source, on a data area, on a data domain. They have the business meaning, not only the technical view. They have the business knowledge about this data. You also need accountability, so a data owner who is accountable for a specific set or a specific domain of data. And you have need maybe a data steward coordinator who coordinates the data stewards, who is assigning tasks, who is doing some requirements engineering in this area, and helping on the tactical level to coordinate all those data stewards. And on the strategic level, we have this so-called Data Governance Council, who is responsible for the strategic development of this whole thing. So defining goals, setting constraints, organizational constraints and conditions, and also, together with the executive level, getting the approval for financial and human resources. So,
I'm ready. I'm really ready to get into data governance. And what are the things I need to do?
Do you know what to do?
I'll have a look at my data.
Okay. So, when it comes to the second pillar, processes, we can them categorize in 4 areas, I would say. So the first one is the data discovery. So it's about scanning my data landscape, document my data sources, creating my data catalog and my data map. It's about data profiling and data classification, so which data is inside, and classification, for example, where is my sensitive data, where is my email address stored, and so on. And also the data lineage, so looking at your data flow from the data source till the measure in the Power BI report at the end. So where is this data is coming from, and what effects would it have when I change my data source on the left side, on the right side, which measures are depending on this data source. Second, the data governance definitions, so creating a business vocabulary, a business glossary, so putting also the business meaning and the business knowledge in there on top of the technical basis. Third, the enforcement of the data governance policies. So we have, for example, data quality rules or rights assignments. So we have to make sure that users are treated like the rights they have. And last but not least, the monitoring. So, for example, monitoring of data quality, of data usage, which user is accessing which data source. The third pillar, we talked about the enforcement of the policies and rules. So what kind of policies and rules do we have, and which policies do we handle? So it's, as I said, data quality rules. Good example. It's about access policies, who has the rights to access and to use this data. It's about lifecycle policies. So when do I have to delete my data? How is this working? And also data auditing. So maybe a 4I principle about a specific data set. And I think the most famous, for example, especially in Europe, the most famous example for a data policy is GDPR. We have to all deal with it. So that looks kind of complicated, and in a broad field we have to deal with it. So we need help, I think. So
maybe some tools.
Yeah. Okay. The tool guy gets in action. We have the fourth pillar, the tools. Are there any tools?
Yeah, there's one tool you can start immediately with. It's a text file, or the enhanced version, it's Excel. No, just kidding. There are good tools you can use to get better and get support for those different pillars we talked about. And the processes we need to support, those are the 4, like data discovery, data governance definitions, enforcement of those rules and policies, and the monitoring. For the data discovery, a data catalog is a thing that really, really can help you to better know your data estate, to map your data, to build islands of data, and to know what are the connections between those different systems. What are the processes that transfer data from A to B and vice versa. There's also the thing of get to know your a better understanding about your data profiling. What are the pieces of data? What are the pieces of like sensitive data? Where are they stored and so on? Are there many of those null columns in there, those null values? So data quality is a thing. For the data governance definitions, it's the definition of a business glossary. Business glossary, it's in comparison to those data classifications. Data classification is like, that's an email address. We stored an email address over there. There's a birth date. There's whatever kind of credit card information stored somewhere. Those are the classification. The business glossary, on the other side, it's more the business meaning. Like, we've got customer data somewhere. We've got customer relationship data. We've got contacts somewhere. We've got product information. And also the definition of measures and KPIs. What is the definition? What is the meaning of that revenue, last year sale, and so on? For the enforcement, it's really, really needed to have good data and good master data. So master data management is a thing you have to, or you should have a look at. Rights management, security. Security is an important thing. And now imagine a tool that takes your data catalog assets, like those data lake files, data lake folders or tables, and you can define the policies, the security policies at that place, and maybe publish that one to the system. And maybe there's a workflow involved that can support you over there. And last but not least, the monitoring, the policy monitoring. What are the policies that maybe we had a problem with, and so on? What is the data usage all about? And there are some tools that support those, and one of those examples I've got with me today is Azure Purview. And there are some of the features I'm going to show you today. I would like to guide you through the concept of the data map. How to connect to a data source, how to scan a data source, what are the pieces of classification that can be applied, a business glossary, and we'll have a look at the rights management, so policy enforcement within the Azure Purview data catalog. Okay, let's head over. Azure Purview, it's an Azure service. You create an Azure Purview account, and you've got that thing that is called Purview Studio. It's the one-stop shop for your data catalog. And what you need to fill your data catalog, well, we need to register sources. Data sources are required. And data sources, well, where's my mouse? I'm going to head over to the data map. And now the question is, why is it called a data map? And the data map, it's not that kind of obvious if you look at that one, at that list. That is the list of registered sources. So I've registered SQL servers, data lakes, Power BI. So there are many sources you can connect to, like Azure Synapse Analytics. You can even go to other cloud vendors like Amazon, connect to those systems and get some inventory information about that. You can connect to data lake storage, MySQL, Postgres, many different database services. And although it's called Azure Purview, you can connect to your local SQL server. You can connect to your Oracle. You can connect to SAP. So it's really a broad range of services and sources that are available. And now for the data map view. Well, if I change the view, that looks like a little bit like a map with those islands, those continents, whatever. Those are called collections. So you can group your data sources into groups, logical groups, and they are called collections. And there's a question. The question was, can we connect to Dynamics 365? Not as of today. I don't know if it's planned, if it's coming. I would assume as it's a main pillar of those business applications, but not as of today. Collections are a thing. So we've got those logical boundaries, and the definition of a source, it's the beginning, but it's just the name of a SQL server. It's not more. What we need to do is we need to define scans. And a scan is the thing that really does the magic. It connects to your source, in my case to a database. It does the technical inventory. What are the tables in there? What are the columns? What is the data type of that specific column? What are the relationships between those items? And during that step, it does data classification. That is the only part where Purview really reads your real data. Purview has a look at the table content in that example, and it does some pattern matching. Like, okay, that data follows like a credit card number. That is an email address. And what it does afterwards, it applies those data classifications. So that is the purpose of a scan. It connects, it gets the structure plus the data classification. The output of all that, it's the data catalog. And we can search that data catalog. And the list, it's like a search engine. You get all those different assets that are in Power BI, like Power BI datasets, Power BI reports, you get tables, you get stored procedures. And you get those files in the data lake. And you can have a look at, let's take the central customers list. That one looks interesting. You can have a look at the definition of that data asset. On the right side, you see the hierarchy. That table is contained in that schema. It's belonging to that database, which is stored on that server. You've got some properties in there, and we've got those classifications in here. And those are classifications Purview found during the scan process. And there are some that have those flash sign over there. Those are those system classifications. And we've got some Wolfies customers. Well, you can create your own classifications. If you know how to write regular expressions, you can write your own data classifications. And classifications are and can be applied on the schema level, like email address column, it's email address data in there. You can also apply it on the data asset level itself. And it's up to you. If you are in the role and able to edit and work with your data catalog, not only a data catalog reader, you can go into the edit mode and you can extend those automatic classifications and apply your own classifications, like the city. That one is like another type, and you can apply the classification of world cities to that schema, that column over there, and you can save it. So that is a thing. Purview does the initial step, and you want to get your data catalog entries better, so you can edit those and add your own classifications. Yeah?
Your additional classifications, is that overriding the original one, or is it adding additional? Is it adding that additional classification along with the original auto classification that it
It's like when you are editing and modifying, repeat the question, thank you, is when I'm doing the editing of that asset, is it adding information or replacing? It's up to you. So the initial one, it's like there, and if you remove that automatically found, well, it's not assigned anymore, but it's more like the process you add information to the overall knowledge pool. Yeah, you can add a list of classifications. It's like there in the last row with the customer numbers. Those are my three custom classifications over here. What is also very, very important, Bernhard talked about responsibility. You can assign owners and experts, and you can add those people in here at a different level, like database level, schema level, folder level at the data lake, and so on and so forth. What is in there too? So we've got those data islands. If I go here and have a look at all these things that are in my data catalog, there's the filter list on the left part of the screen. You can use that one to filter and get some specific results you really want. if you're looking for a piece of information, like I did query the content, the full content of my data catalog. But you can search for, if I can type, customer data, and we get all the pieces of data, all those data assets that contain customer somewhere in the table name, in the dataset name, and so on. But there is the option of filtering in here. So you can use and filter those results like, I only want to have the data assets that do have the classification of my customers assigned. You can also filter to the responsible person, like I want to get information Bernhard is responsible for, and so on. You can also filter using what kind of object. So I'm looking for a Power BI dataset, I'm looking for a SQL Server table, and so on. And last but not least, well, it's those glossary terms. And that is the next part I'm going to show you. Classifications are those technical assignments, like email address data, credit card data. But a data catalog, it's not for IT only. It's for the business too, because they should be able to find the right data. And with the business glossary, going to move to that one, manage glossary, it's over here, you can define your own glossary terms. And that one is really, really up to you, how you define a customer, how you define your business glossary terms in there. And what I did create an initial structure, and there's a business partner, and there's a more specific term like a customer, and I've got the glossary term of a preferred customer, a preferred supplier. And those are terms where, you see it here, you can apply a status. And you can even create your own, your custom term template, it is called, and you can add those properties that are required in your company for that specific definition of a term. Those terms can be applied to data assets. They are not automatically applied, so it's up to you. Go over to the central customers list, somewhere over here. Let's take the reporting customers. And you can add glossary terms in here. So the reporting customers, they do contain like business partner information, customer information, and supplier information. And that is the thing that it's not only the data map that is built here, it's like a network that is built. Everything is related. So we've got the assignment to that specific table for or between the glossary term and the data asset. We've got the relationship between the classification. And there's another thing. There is a connection between those pieces of information in your data lake. Not on a data lake, sorry. In your data map, there can be a relationship between things in the data lake and somewhere else. It's called the data lineage. And that is the thing where you can answer the question, where comes my data and where goes my data to? And the real thing is, if you have, for example, Power BI, there's the relationship of data set goes into report into a dashboard, but where does the data really come from? And what is the missing link that's somewhere and sometimes there? And if I hover to the lineage tab over here, what you can see, there's one piece of information like that specific table in the middle, and there are many pieces somewhere before that table and after that one. And what does it mean? Well, that table is filled by different pipelines. And those little pieces, those are pipelines, those are copy activities from Azure Data Factory. They are reading data from a data lake, and let's go back, okay, we've got a database table somewhere that is moving and getting data into that table over there. And I have to hurry up. Oh my God, I'm at the last minute of my demo. There's one thing I promised you to show. It's about security. Security is important. And now imagine the ideal world. We've got the data map, we've got the data catalog, We know what are the tables, what are the folders in our environment. Wouldn't it be nice if there's a thing within that Purview thingy that allows us to define security policies, like who is allowed to read data in a specific part of your data lake, who is allowed to modify data in a database table. And there's the policy preview in here. And what you can do is you can define policy rules, like who is allowed to modify data on a specific asset, and well, it's my colleague Power BI, or it's Bernhard that is allowed to read data. And it's a real nice and, well, straightforward way. We define, let's create a new one. We define who is allowed to do what, like read and modify, on which data resource, and we define the subjects. What are the people that are allowed to do this? Yeah, there's a question.
What happens when it actually happens first?
Pardon?
Let's say you put this policy in a Power BI data set.
Yeah.
You say only this person can modify it. Power BI doesn't enforce it.
At the moment, it's there for the data lake. The question, sorry. Oh my God. You have to do that in your next session. The question was, if you create that policy and you apply it to a system and Power BI doesn't enforce it, that's not the best way. So it's like at the moment it's supported for the data lake, so the policies are defined here and published afterwards and pushed to the data lake itself. Not that many systems are supported. It's the data lake that is there in public preview. There's the SQL policies thing there too. And since the beginning of this week, it's that there are workflows. Like you can request access from a data asset page. And if the system doesn't allow to get the meta or the security definition, the owner that is defined gets an email. So it's like, if the system supports it, and I hope that Power BI will get more and more closer in touch with Azure Purview. That was my demo, and now back to the real interesting stuff.
Thank you, Wolfgang. So we have seen what Azure Purview is possible to do and is able to do at the moment. So we're expecting a bunch of features in the future. And now it's about you. So when you're seeing all that areas we have to cover and the things we have to consider, thinking maybe, okay, quite broad and quite hard work. So how do I start with data governance? Based on the experiences we've made with our customers, we identified 5 steps to how to start with data governance and what should you do. So in first place, analyze your current situation. Ask your people and identify your people that are already caring about their data. So there are their operational data stewards from the beginning. So you have the people already in your company. And on the other side, identify your blind spots. Which data source hasn't an expert assigned? Which data source is quite alone in your data landscape? Second, raise awareness for the management of your data assets. So ask the people, tell the people the importance of data, and I think they know the importance of data when they have too less data and they need data to make decisions. So raise awareness and talk to the people, to the business people about their data assets. Define focus areas and use cases. So you can't handle them all at once from the beginning. Define your focus areas, what you want to achieve first and what you want to focus on. Write down a business case. We've talked about that. So mostly it's about define the value of data governance. What brings it to your company? What value does it provide for your company in terms of efficiency, of saving times, saving money, and with that, go to your executive and get the approval for human resources, for financial resources to do that program. And last but not least, use tool support. You have to consider many things, but tools make life much easier in different parts of data governance. Data governance is not just a tool, it's a project or a process, but tools make life much easier.
You could do your data map and data catalog in Excel, but you would do it manually. You have to scan your databases, your data lake, every time you had a chance, or you use a tool.
But if you have already maybe a business glossary in Excel that one person has written in the past, use this. When you're asking your people in the first step on the analysis of the current situation, use this existing glossary and make them available in the whole company and to the other people.
You can import that one in Purview. There's some sort of upload mechanism, and you can use your own definitions that are maybe already there.
Okay. At the end, some things to remember. So, data is an asset. Data has a value and is very important in our companies. Data governance is not just a tool. So it's more than just a tool. Tools are very important, but it's not just a tool. Data must have defined accountability. We need the experts, we need the accountability on our data. And data governance is teamwork. It is not an IT-only thing, it's not a business-only thing. We have to include the whole company and talk to the whole company, to your colleagues about this whole thing. And for me, very important, it's not just a project, it's an ongoing process. You maybe start a project to introduce data governance to your company, but it hasn't an end point after 6 months, 2 years, whatever. It's an ongoing process. Maybe remember the circle, or in the data governance processes, it's iterating all the time. You're learning from the monitoring. You do a new scan, you get new data sources, new aspects you have to consider. So it's an ongoing process. And when you're starting, start small, define your use cases, define your focus areas, but think big. Think the organization you have to build when you want to enlarge those programs. So, thank you, Wolfgang.
Well, there's a new face on that picture.
That wasn't planned that way. When you're starting, we finished World 1, but there are many other missions to accomplish and to do. So you have made the start. You finished the first world, and there are many others to come. So keep going. That was our question. So. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah. I'm gonna come a little bit closer, and I will repeat the question.
I was going to ask how you found the cost of Purview.
The costs. We've got the vendor in this room, but the costs.
It depends.
I'm a consultant. Well, it's like 49 minutes into the talk. It depends. No. It was like at the beginning there were those 4 capacity units and 16 capacity units, and it was like horrible expensive for a small company or just to try Azure Purview. Now it's the elastic data map that is there, which scales up. If you need Purview more, if there are more requests, if you have more metadata in it, and it's like the initial costs are like 300 something euros, which is the data map, plus there are costs for the scanning. So every time you start a scan, there is some computing costs involved. And that is really a thing that you have to think about it. If you need to scan your database every day or every week, if there's no schema change in it. So think about that. That is a huge part where you can save money. And the elastic map, you can't pause it. It's like running at the initial 1 CU level, which is those 300 something per month. And the cost is, it's a thing, but if you compare it to other tools, it's like if you don't need Purview anymore, I don't hope that that they will come, but you can delete your account. That is one thing. But there is cost involved. But what you get is a good and very good understanding of your data estate, all those classifications. And what I've not shown, there are integrations into other tools. Like in Synapse, you can search your data catalog and you can create a linked service right from that data asset page. So it's getting more and more integrated. Yeah?
So with the data lake integration on the access boxes, one challenge we've had is it's very easy to set permissions on containers.
Yeah.
If you want to do ACLs on files, it's very difficult. Does this take care of that for us somehow?
Very good question. It's about the policy enforcements in data lakes. Access control lists ACLs defined on containers versus those defined on folders and substructures and files. That one is fun. I'm not sure if Purview will make our life really, really easier. You have to think about the concept, how to define the policies and the rights and so on. It's like, fingers crossed, I can say it that time.
So, we are...
Do we have any virtual questions? No, nothing.
Okay.
We are on time. Kasper, I'm going to answer your question, but I don't want to stop you for the lunch break. Thanks for attending. And what I really, really hope is that I can join the stage again with Bernhard. Is what.
Thank you.
And there's a second wish. I hope that everyone in this room will join Team Data Governance.
So we would love to have your feedback, what you like, what you dislike. Please provide feedback, and yeah, have a nice day. Enjoy data governance.
Thank you.